What's up everybody and welcome back to a new video. I hope you're all really well. Sorry that I haven't posted for a few days. I've just been, taking a time out and just dealing with stuff, But as we'll jump straight in the video and just simply say that I hope you all are doing great and thank you for those that have given the time of day to actually watch at least one of my videos and maybe give me and has given me a subscription or subscriber. I don't know what the word is for that. Like I said, I'm an awkward potato. But yeah, I just want to say that I really appreciate it. And in today's video, I just simply wanted to talk about something that I feel like is spoken about a lot, but I don't feel like it's spoken about enough. And it it makes sense in my head, but obviously when relaying it back, it doesn't really make any sense. But I think with the gist of the video, that I think you'll try and understand what I'm trying to say, and it's just basically ranking the schools on how they perform when soloing, especially in how the meta is right now. So I'd just simply like to delve into that and obviously get your guys' opinions on it as well. So since I am on my fire, I would simply just like to start with fire. And I want to say that there isn't really many faults that you can really have with fire. Like at the beginning, I wouldn't say it's easy, but it starts on, you know, struggle, and then as you level, it's basically just easy sailing from there. You know, you've got arguably one of the best 4-pip AoE spells. You get your blade rather soon. I won't say soon, but you get it very early on in the game, which helps a lot. And obviously, with how King Zhao seems to be dealing with fire right now, they feel like, fire doesn't have enough damage and, it needs to be stronger than Storm. And it already was strong anyway, so, it's just a bonus there in that department, really. When it comes to the damage, they do insane amounts of damage, and obviously, if you get your stats set up correctly, you can easily be one of the strongest wizards out there, whilst having long survivability and having at least 10k health. So if you put that into perspective, on the North American servers, from wizards I've seen with the stats that they have about, about 10.5k, maybe 11k pushing it, about 55 resist, and they've got about 220 damage. And that is insane. Like, that is beyond comprehensible when you look back at the game maybe 5 years ago. Like, that is just absolutely crazy. So if you ever decide to solo this school, it's definitely going to be a ride for you that you will never forget, because it's honestly probably one of the best schools in my opinion, and you're just gonna be going on a smooth ride. Like I've said, like there is literally nothing to fault with a school whatsoever. So if this is your first time playing, I'd probably say go with this school maybe, because I won't say it's a hard school, but it teaches you the ropes pretty fast, and that's something that is always nice to have, especially when you're a first time player. So yeah, that's fire basically. Now with ice, I don't really have much to comment on with ice, because my ice wizard is only an Azteca. Like I've been questing on it for maybe like 3 or 4 years now, and personally it's not a favourite of mine. I'm trying to grow into it, but every time I try, I personally just don't enjoy it. But I do have friends that think the school is probably one of the best schools out there, in their opinion, especially when it comes to max level. Like, you start off really bad. Like, you don't get your first blade or your school blade until level 38. You can get an elemental blade from Niles, the Balance Tree, and Crocotopia at level 25. Like, you are so much better off once you get that blade, but overall Ice's damage from the start of the game until maybe about level 100 onwards, your damage is terrible. Like Waterworks gear only gives you something like 30 damage, I believe. I think it's around the 30 mark, and that is just That is just awful. Like, you're level 60 and you're only getting 30 damage from gear whilst other schools are getting 40, 50. I think they're on 60 for some schools. Like, that is really, really bad marketing on trying to promote that school to somebody. You don't get your ice blade until level 38, like I've said. Your ice damage is really, really bad until you get to about Darkmoor when things start to pick up, and then by the end of the game, level 40, 56, level 140, 150, 160, you are probably one of the strongest schools in terms of any concept. So PvE, you're winning. PvP, you're winning. I'm not sure if I said PvP at the start, but you know, same thing. You were literally winning in every department at the school. When it comes to soloing, I wouldn't say it's an easy school to solo with, unless you have that assistance if you really really need it. But that defeats the whole object of soloing with that school. It's not an easy school to solo with. It's definitely more of an advanced school, and you need a lot of patience with this school. If you don't have patience, then you don't really feel like ripping your hair out and wearing a wig, then this school is probably not a school that you should start with if it's your first time playing and wanting to solo. But if you're, you know, a player that has played for years and has many other wizards before, and you want to go into Ice, Ice is definitely a great school to play, but just from the start until about level 80, 90 or 100, it looks really, really bleak. But honestly, once you have if you have the patience with it, you will find that in the end, it will all be worth it. You know, you're like a little apprentice, and obviously, if you pass the test and you become a Sith Lord, you're great. Now with Death, easiest way I can put it is this is the school to solo with. Like, your health drain is such a beneficial thing to have, especially when coming to soloing a school. Like, Death Wizard thrives on playing alone. Like, you do the best in terms of soloing, survivability if you play your cards right, and it's just an awesome school to play. The spells look really really good graphic wise. The damage isn't too bad. I won't say it's the best, but obviously for what you're playing for and the benefits you're trying to get out of it, you are literally hitting all that criteria that you're after. Like I said, the spells are graphically amazing. The health drain is a bonus on top of that, because obviously how health drain really works is certain spells, not every single spell of death has these effects, but for instance, a vampire, you hit it for instance, 1000 damage, half of that health gets converted to you. So the 1000 damage that killed, I don't know, the rotten fodder, that's dead, and then the 500 health that you lost, what you're getting from the damage is put into you, and that heals you. And obviously, if you're low on health, you've got some blades on, and you know that you won't be able to kill all of them immediately or right away. Just hit with a spell that has life drain, and that will keep you going until you can eventually pull the right card to kill them all. It's such a beneficial school in terms of living, and which is kind of ironic since you're playing Death. Pardon the pun. Uh, it's just a really really great school to play, and like I say, there isn't really much to fault. You're just on a one-way street of thri- thriving and just going straight through the game from point one to point two in a matter of you could get through all the worlds with ease. Obviously, there is some fights that you do need a second or third person, but along with obviously the health drain, you have amazing debuffs and buffs. Like, you have Dark Pact, which obviously you damage yourself for, I think it's 300 moon damage. Obviously, damage varies depending on your stats and your resist, blah blah blah. And you give yourself, or you give whoever you're giving it to, two blades of 25. I think it's 25 damage. Yeah, I believe it's 25 damage. Correct me if I'm wrong. Um, and you deliver some great support. And obviously on the debuffing side, you've got this awesome spell that you get from I think it's Avalon, I believe. I don't remember where you got all these side quest spells from because it's been a long time since I've done it. So like I say, just correct me if I'm wrong. But to my knowledge, you get it from Avalon, and it's a spell called Bad Juju, and basically you damage yourself for a certain amount of moon damage. Obviously, damage varies depending on your stats, and you put a -90 weakness on them, which is absolutely insane, and obviously it helps turn the fight around so easily, and especially in fights like the Titan's Wake where you fight the Storm Titan, that is such a beneficial spell to have because it you, theoretically you can't really do that spell without a Death Wizard. Death Wizard seem very unwanted until it comes to that fight, and then they're just like, please let me have you, let me have you. But no, Death is definitely the school to go to when it comes to soloing. It's probably the best school to solo with, and it's really easy to pick up. It's not hard to understand. The spells are rather easy to understand, and it's just a really fun school to play. So Death School is where it's at when it comes to soloing mostly. Now, as I was saying with Fire earlier, Storm is basically just a watered down version of Fire at this point. You have less health, still do insane amounts of damage. Obviously your spells, like some of your base hit spells like Storm Owl is at what, 1200? Let me quickly look. Yeah, 1350 to 1470 for a 10 pip spell. Like, that is absolutely crazy. The damage on it, along with a 300 enchant, it, it's very hard to live against that, especially in PvE, PvP. Oh my god, my brain is fried. It's insane. But yeah, when it comes to Storm, I wouldn't say it's easy school to solo with, as obviously you have literally squishy health. Like your base health is something like 400 from the start of the game, and obviously if you look at your base health now, it's literally 2.6 compared to other schools that have like 5k base health. Like your resistance isn't exactly great, but obviously mine is built towards more damage, so obviously that's why my resist is lower. You can have more resist, like you can have like 45, 46 resist maybe, obviously lacking some damage. But if you're after a school to solo, I wouldn't say that this school is the best school to solo. If you're playing with friends, and it's a great school, because obviously the damage output is insane, but playing by yourself, it's not really the best option, especially if you're a new player, because you'll probably get really frustrated with dying constantly. So obviously I wouldn't personally recommend, but it's on you how you want to play. So if you want to go for Storm for the damage, then be my guess, but as a rule for soloing it's not the best. For PvP it's really good. Obviously a lot of people like to use Sign of Storm, which obviously can be easily countered with blades, but the damage on it is insane, especially in quick match 1v1. Like, it's crazy. Annoys me quite a bit, but no, we got over it. But yeah, that's basically Storm. Now, Life is your support school. The damage isn't the best. It has improved over the years with new spells that I've released, and obviously spell audits, but overall it still isn't the very best for when it comes to terms of hitting. When it comes to soloing, it's really, I wouldn't say it's the best school, but it's good for survivability, and obviously you do have time to make those errors if you do when it comes to your deck setup and stuff. Obviously when it comes to playing with a group, obviously you are basically the healer, so obviously your job is just to keep people alive and, do the basics of that. But when it comes to PvP, you can literally just wear J gear and, piss everyone off, because people don't like J gear in PvP. I've done it before, and, you just wait for them to run out of cards, and then people can judge you as to why you brought reshuffles into PvP. But we don't talk about soloing with that. But yeah, when it comes to obviously soloing middle school, it's really good when you get to level 48, which is where you get Forest Lord, and So 40 out of 58, correct me if I'm wrong, I've actually forgotten. But yeah, you get Forest Lord, and the animation for that used to be very, very slow, but obviously since the spell animation changes where they spread a lot of the 7-pip AoEs up, it helped a lot when it comes to using that spell, because you didn't dread seeing the spell if that was the best for you. But yeah, when you get to that spell that you are able to learn, it's really, really good for obviously soloing. But until then, you're stuck with spells that don't do much damage really, and obviously the single hits. So obviously you can counteract that with obviously getting a certain pet that has like the I believe it's the Kookaburra that has the Leaf Storm spell for Pip AoE, which can help a lot. Sorry about that, my partner walked in. Um, yeah, obviously when it comes to that, it's obviously there is ways around it. Like I said with the ordinary Kookaburra, which obviously helps with the 4-pip AoE, but overall the school isn't the best to solo up until that point. But when you get that spell, which is called Forest Lord, obviously, it helps a lot. So obviously take that into consideration as you will, and obviously you decide whether you want to quest the school or not. Honestly, when it comes to balance, as you can see, I haven't really played this wizard. I'm, I'm trying to get to it, but I'm slowly like losing the will with trying, because literally every mob you run into is balance, 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 and you slowly lose the will to even bother. But obviously, from a soloing perspective, this is probably like one of the worst schools to solo with, only because a lot of the bosses and mobs you do run into are balance, and obviously you do get spells as you level up to like counter that. So obviously with certain pets and items that you can wear, you can get spell cards and item cards that can give you spells like the the Hydra as an AoE version of it, which obviously does elemental damage, which obviously, even though it's a balance spell, it won't affect the balance boss in terms of balance damage, as it will be doing elemental damage. But yeah, it will still work off your balance damage. Makes sense if you read into it, but obviously it wouldn't from a learner's perspective. So sorry about that, but obviously balance is really, really stuck in the mud when it comes to obviously soloing, because obviously of that issue, and balance doesn't have its own convert for that school. So obviously, if you don't know what a convert is, schools have their own converts, and basically, for instance, if you're a storm wizard going against a storm boss, you can use your convert on that boss and it will make it do opposing damage of that school. So for instance, storm, it'll be myth. So obviously you'll still be taking your storm damage into account, but instead of doing storm damage on the boss or mob or whoever you're doing it on, it will do myth damage. Obviously, still using the damage from your storm stats. So you don't need to worry about that. But obviously, balance doesn't have this to use. So obviously, it's stuck in that department. You really, really, really do need to have a lot of patience with this school. It's like the best way to put it really is like high skill ceiling, but it's great reward in the end. Like when you do get towards later levels of the school, it is really, really good, especially for like soloing, because you have like literally all sorts of spells to your use that you can literally take advantage of. If you know that one thing isn't going to work, you know that you've got another thing that can counter whatever that is. So obviously that is a pro for you. And also another pro is, unless they literally shield with a universal shield, they can't really counter you. Like bosses can't really counter you, because there isn't a balanced shield to counter. So obviously you can get TCs like stone walls, but obviously they're rare, and nobody really has them, and a boss definitely doesn't have them. But obviously when it comes to PvP purposes, balance is probably one of the best schools next to myth, I would say, in my personal opinion. Like if you go into a PvP match, as long as you know what you're doing, you're probably guaranteed to win. You've got mana burn, you've got weaknesses at your hand, you've got judgment, which is a X based spell. So obviously you can cast it with any amount of pips, and obviously based on how many pips you have, power pip being double the pip damage, you you can deal some deadly damage, and it's really crazy. I don't really have much to say about balance because I haven't played balance enough to understand how it's like to solo with, but obviously my friend does have a balance wizard, but obviously he never soloed it. He played it with me and my other friends, so he didn't really have a take on how it is to solo. But I do know in the instances that he did have to solo something like a spell quest, I know that he was screaming and shouting for quite a bit, so just take that as you will. Now, the last school on this list is, you know, my baby Myth. Um, I feel like Myth is prejudged a lot because a lot of new players and players in general seem to think that Myth is all about minions, and admittedly, you do get a lot of minions and you do get a lot of stuff for minions, but that's by and by because obviously when you get into later game with Myth, you get probably one of, if not the strongest 7 pip AoE spell, which is, you know, this bad boy right here. Like, that is base 700 damage. It's an AoE. It didn't always used to be an AoE, it used to be a single hit, but obviously it got changed. Obviously, enchant that with, you know, an epic, and your base damage is 1,000. Like, that is 1,000 base damage on top of your stats. You're getting, like, I know from personal experience, if I cast a spell with just an enchant, no blades, no auras, no bubbles, I'm getting about 4,000, 4.2k damage just from that one spell. Like, that is insane damage for just one spell, no buffs or anything. Like, that will kill basically most of the minions you run across. Obviously, at low level you won't have stats like this, and if you do, please let me know how, because it took me a while. But, you know, Myth is probably one of the strongest spells when it comes to... It's definitely on par to Storm and Fire in the department of damage, and it does have the flex of it's a spirit school, so spirit schools do usually have a higher base health, like 3474, and obviously my health right now is 7.7k, which is moderately good. I feel like it could be better, but I just haven't got around to making that better yet. But obviously with Lemuria hopefully coming to the EU servers within the next few weeks, fingers crossed, that can be adjusted there and then. But obviously when it comes to soloing with the school, I'll probably say it's really good. I wouldn't say it's hard. I would say it can get a bit tedious at times because obviously the minions that you do receive from spell quests when you would like to receive another hit, maybe a stronger hit to make it easy for you to quest through. But obviously that honestly does pass after maybe like level 40, level 50. That it's very rare that you are getting a minion spell. Like I think the last one you rarely receive is sorry, bear with me. Yeah, I think the last one you receive is Talos, and that's obviously a 5 pit spell, and obviously, you know... Oh no, sorry. Yes, Sanji, I can develop for Sanji, but that is through a side quest that you don't even have to do, so that's not even for your professor. So, you know, it's a really cool school, and I feel like it is very underrated personally, and I know I kind of drifted off topic about soloing with this school, but you know, I'm a bit biased when it comes to it, and I will personally just say, you know, just go for this school. We need more myths, especially on the EU server. There isn't enough of us, and the kiosk is a bit dead. But that's by and by. The school is really good for soloing, and obviously when you get to like mid game, you're literally surfing through it all. Your damage is really, really good. Waterworks gear helps you a lot at level 60, and you just roll in. But Myth is obviously, like I said, probably one of the best schools to solo with, along with Death, and probably Fire, in my honest opinion, because obviously you've got higher health, more than Storm. Obviously KingsIsle felt like they should, give Fire more damage and have a spell order with their damage because they felt like it wasn't strong enough or it needed to be stronger. So obviously you have that going for you when it comes to Fire, and yeah, I would say that those are probably the best schools to solo with. Obviously, you choose who you want to solo with, but as a outside looking in, that is probably one of the best schools to solo with, like I'm saying. So, yeah. I'm sorry that this video has been a bit of a mess. Like I said, I'm just not a potato, and I am new to this stuff, so I'm still it's like you're learning on the job. If you do have any opinions and obviously anything that I spoke about in this video where you want to correct me because what's the word? I'm 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 so far wrong you can't just ignore it. And please do, any criticism is constructive criticism, and obviously any comments, whether they're good or bad, is something that can be worked on. But obviously, if you did enjoy the video, I'd really appreciate it if you could comment on your opinions if you have any. If you could give this video a like and maybe a subscribe if you're feeling nice, that'd be really appreciated, and I'll hopefully see you in the next video.